Gameplay now replaying stories, the path of Destinies. Episode 9. Signing that let's see if we can secure our path of our own destiny. Shall we?
It was a stone of the purest blackness. It reflected no light, like a void made solid. Nervous, he picked it up. Who said that? It was the stone. Eager, thirsty. That seemed tempting and terribly wrong. Zenobia was the Emperor's greatest general and a potent witch. But they had been close once, and he had a sneaking suspicion the gem would try to control him. Why not capture the core of Sky Ripper instead? It was the eye of a lost god torn out by the Transcendent Emperor to power his greatest weapon. "What's the core?" said the stone anxiously. But even though Renato knew how evil the gem was, he had a clever plan for dealing with it.
I did that, so I'm going here.
Why was he listening to a talking rock? But the rock had a point. If the stone could truly turn him into a powerful warrior, he could defeat the Emperor with the very weapon the wicked old Toad had sought for himself. To be a hero, you had to sacrifice old friends sometimes, especially when they've become enemies.
Exactly. It's understandable. And forge a new path. So I have to do it anyway because if I want to or not.
As he placed the impoverished and dead ravens below a black sun. Was it the time of the lost gods, before the Transcendent Emperor? Was it the future? Feed souls, it whispered. Take the power. He could feel the stone's hunger for souls. pretty heavy to carry. You know what's not? A new sword. He knew the known knowns, and even some of the known unknowns. But he didn't know the unknown unknowns. You dig? On Zenobia's island were no match for Renardo. They screamed as the stones sucked out their souls. And with each death, he felt stronger. Take the power, the stone told him. Sometimes, Renardo really hated inanimate objects. The sword felt even colder. This couldn't be good for global warming.
What do you know about global warming? That's funny, right?
Couldn't do worse with Zenobia than he'd done with the core, could he? Maybe I should follow my nose, thought Renardo. These things could really use a hand. Zenobia was waiting for Renato. She was alone, confident as always. Fire danced at the tips of her claws.
Are you here to surrender?
She seemed as cocksure as he felt. But she didn't know he had the stone.
And I've missed you too, love.
He chuckled. She spotted the stone and bolted without another word. It would be fun to try out that one. And here was a handy workbench. Finally, Renato caught up to her. He had never seen her scared before. At school, she'd been the determined, brave one. Now her eyes were wide, frightened. He didn't like seeing her this way.
Kill her,
Whispered the stone.
you cannot win your rebellion without it.
Please. No, said Zenobia. Not that way. Oh, they had been so close once. Could he really feed her soul to his demonic gem? But if he spared her, he would not get the full power of the stone. Oh, how could he be the hero he wanted to be? With a flick of his wrist, he slashed Zenobia's throat. Her eyes widened even more. And then the light went out of them. Renato felt amazing. Power was rushing into him like water from a burst dam. Oh, such brilliance, exulted the Iblis stone. Renato returned to the Farfarer and set a course for the Nexus. The Empire had a communication outpost there. He could call the Emperor directly. It was time to seize the outpost and let the Emperor know what he had done. The Nexus was beautiful. He never realized how beautiful. Everything glowed. The wind was so sweet. The sun so soft. The stones so warm. They had black raven feathers. Black feathers. Suddenly, his eyes are filled with them. He's falling through smoke under a dead sun. A voice calls him home. Is this a vision? Whose? Is this the time of the lost gods? Or the future? No matter. What mattered now was killing his way to the Imperial outpost and challenging the Emperor from there. The platform used a hybrid propulsion system fueled by anti-gravity and wishful thinking. Every day he was getting better and better. Up ahead was Lapino. What was he doing?
Sure the stone is not all that healthy a thing to keep?
I suppose you wanted, Renato said, and poked Lapino in the chest for emphasis. Oh, had he just killed Lapino? Oh, damn it. Go to the outpost, use their far speaker, tell the Emperor what he'd done, and then he'd go to the secret rebel base. Let them know he was ready to lead them to victory. Renato rampaged to the Imperial outpost like a water buffalo rampaging. At the last moment, he remembered not to kill the far speaker toad. After all, he wanted a word with the Emperor. But there was only silence. The Emperor was scared, like a little girl. Well, he would gather the rebel army and slaughter the Imperial fleet. Yes. applauded the Iblistone. Tremendous. Then the Emperor would have to answer his fire speaker, wouldn't he? Who are you? Asked a distant voice that sounded uncomfortably like Zenobia. What have you become? The mountains. Go to the mountains, urged another that sounded a bit like Lapino. Renato called the Rebel Council to let them know to gather their forces. Then he killed a fire speaker toad. Why? Well, because to make sure his sword was sharp. Oh no, that's awful. So no one else could use it. Yes, that's it. Then he set off for the ruins and the secret rebel base. The ruins were crawling with ravens. Probably looking for the secret base, Renato thought. But then he realized they're probably looking for me. They must be very scared of me. Well, here I am. You are the hottest warrior ever, whispered the Iblistone. And he had to agree with it, for once. Who was as good as Renato? There had to be something useful in these things, didn't there? No skateboarding, the sign said. Renato was so happy. The stone was the best friend he'd ever had. Really, who would bury such a treasure in the desert? Soon, he'd go rally the rebellion and usher a new age for the islands of Erda. The mysterious sword from the east made you so fast you could catch a fly with your chopsticks. If that's what you really wanted. Hey, I'm a firefox, thought Renato. urged the stone.
Let me make you Emperor.
Come to think of it, Renato thought as he put down another raven, why shouldn't I be Emperor? How did anybody get to be Emperor anymore? By making war. Not counting the transcendent Emperor, obviously, who had banished the lost gods when he started time. Yes, he should be Emperor. He would make a great Emperor. Right, Stone?
Right, boss.
Hey, why don't you guys fight in groups? Oh, I know. Because there's no I in team. The long stairs. So he was close to the rebel base. Nothing was on fire. So far, so good. Watching. Renato strode into the council. Let's do this thing. Let's make me Emperor. They looked confused and nervous. Ah, had he mentioned the Emperor thing? Yeah, he meant to bring that up later. I mean, let's go win this rebellion. He waved his sword around encouragingly. They ran. Cowards. He'd stop them. He cut down a few to inspire the others. But soon, there was no one to cut down. Well then, he'd have to attack the fleet alone. More for me, he said. Unless it was the stone that said it. Traitors.
Traitors, all of them. They'd run rather than following him, rather than cheering him. What should he do to the cowards? Anything he wanted to. After all, he was a true hero, the best warrior that ever was. No one could stop him now. But first, finish him. The Emperor, that is. Where was the rebel fleet? They weren't even trying an assault. They were going to miss a day in history. The downfall of this dynasty, and a new one to take its place. He didn't have to kill all the ravens. He could enslave them. And enslave the toads too. All the animals would worship him as a god. For he had once been a god. They would willingly give him their blood and their souls. And the world would change, would become familiar again.
Alright, that is it for us. And the story, the Path of Destiny, as you can see, we're making some great progress. You know what I'm saying? We are unlocking new stories, new paths. You know what I'm saying? So on that, man, we had a great day today. We started with some gaming news. Started with some anime news. You know what I'm saying? You know, then we started with the Mafia 3. You know, got a couple more trophies. Hunting down these people who selling this dirty-ass moonshine. Then, you know, story of the Path of Destiny, got down a trophy. We're still making new paths, you know what I'm saying? You know, we still got ways to go, but you know what? That's what we do, man. We gamers. And we ain't gonna stop. I ain't stopping. Are you gonna stop? Alright, man. Other than that, man, I hope y'all enjoy your night. This is your boy, the one and only Chaosvash, aka Lil Pun 01, signing off. Stay cool, stay safe, stay breezy. Real breezy. I'll holler at y'all later on tonight. Hold with some more gaming news and anime news. Peace.